Welcome to Tales of Dread. Today, my friends, we're going to look closely at another encounter. I think that the scariest monsters are the ones that look just like the rest of us. They use their ability to blend in with the crowd to hide right in front of your eyes and attack people who don't know what to look out for. By the time you figure out who they are, it's already way too late. At least at first glance, the worst people can easily blend in with the rest of the population. They look and act harmless, but inside they are dangerous maniacs. Ted Bundy, for example, was a young man with blandly pleasant looks who was easy to talk to. John Wayne Gacy, on the other hand, was a fat, happy-looking man who would show up at children's birthday parties dressed as a clown. Kim Jong-il, the leader of North Korea, was a megalomaniac who thought he was all-powerful. A cruel ruler whose name was enough to make his people die of fear. But despite the fact that his cruel regime gave him a huge reputation, Kim Jong-il was a small man who stood just shy of 5'3" inches tall. Monsters do exist in real life, but they don't always look like monsters or seem very dangerous. They hide their true nature behind a mask of friendliness. On the outside, they look like any other normal person. They walk through our fog without being afraid of being found. They are predators who have found a good way to hide themselves. Who is the wolf among us, and who is a sheep in the herd? What if these evil maniacs could change their looks, so that they looked like the monsters they really are? Imagine a killer with no remorse who can actually change the very fabric of reality at their whim, and a moral maniac who can turn into any animal they want. Imagine if one of these people lived in your neighborhood and caused trouble with poisonous teeth and razor-sharp claws at night. Fear and paranoia would quickly become too much to handle, and everyone would be dying to ask the same question about the fever. Who is doing this in the American Southwest? And how can they be stopped? People thought that these people who used dark magic were a very real threat. They were called Inotlushi, which means through it. It has 4 legs. People also call them Skinwalkers. The Navajo and their distant cousins, the Apache, are native people who live in the southwest of the United States. The Navajo are thought to have moved to where they are now from northwestern Canada in eastern Alaska, where the native people speak a language that is very similar to Athabascan. The Navajo are a spiritual people who thought it was their job as earth people to keep peace between themselves, the holy people, and the earth, which they called the fourth world or the glittering world. Magic was seen as a normal part of life by most people. The Navajo's medicine was either physical or spiritual, and it was meant to heal the body or cure a sickness of the spirit. Medicine men were respected members of society who were both doctors and priests. They helped their people with all of their health problems through a variety of ceremonies. But there was also a group of bad medicine men who practiced black magic. These medicine men used to be healers, but they had become corrupted by power and blinded by the darkness in their own hearts. People thought these people were witches, evil beings who caused trouble and troublemakers among their own people to become skinwalkers. Joining a secret society was necessary, but the price of entry was a steep drop into hell. The new member had to kill a close family member, preferably a sibling, because that was a very bad thing. This nameless group's only goal was to do bad things, which upset the delicate balance between the Navajo, the natural world, and the world of the holy people. Their goal was to plant the seeds of chaos in order to spread fear and tear society apart through terrorist attacks. Even though it could be hard to tell who a skinwalker was just by looking at them. It was said that their eyes would still look like animals even when they were in human form, and that the eyes of their animal forms looked strangely human. People used to think that a skinwalker's eyes would glow red in bright light, just like the murderous desires that burn in their black hearts. Often, they wore the skin of the animal. Most of the time, they tried to look like a predator's height. Because of this, the Navajo only wore the skins of the harmless grazing animals they hunted or raised for food. Wearing the skins of animals where predators hide as clothing could lead to accusations of witchcraft, which could have very bad results for the accused. The traditional teachings both guided and ruled their lives. The White Shell Woman, a holy female deity, and the DNA Holy People, who were also holy spiritual deities, gave the DNA this set of beliefs. The whole cell philosophy was part of this complicated set of beliefs. It says that people can be self-empowered by having the right thoughts, words, and actions. As Gary Witherspoon explains in his work, hustle is both a way of life and a state of being. It is the central idea of the Navajo worldview, and it means everything that is good and refers to an environment that includes everyone. It is both the state of perfect health and the journey that one must take in order to reach enlightenment. The Navajo were very sure that it was possible to communicate with the supernatural world to make changes in the physical world. Ideally, this communication would help people's lives, but it didn't always work out that way. Skinwalkers are interesting mythical monsters because they aren't really monsters in the traditional sense. Instead, they are people who are skilled in traditional Navajo medicine, but have chosen to practice black magic instead of staying on the path of peace. Once a Skinwalker joins the Secret to Skinwalker cult and gets their forbidden powers, they can break all the rules of physics and reality. They are said to be able to fly or become invisible to the naked eye. They can also take over people just by looking into their eyes. Being a man, a beast, or even an insect, the Skinwalkers can take control of their bodies and use them like living puppets. The unfortunate person who gets body jacked by a Skinwalker is forced to do what the witch tells them to do, no matter how bad the task seems to the victim. They can do terrible things without ever being at the scene of the crime, which keeps their fellow villagers from suspecting them. A single Skinwalker was bad enough. But as a coven, these witches were thought to be able to combine their powers and send their evil attacks over long distances, unrestrained by the moralistic ideas of hustle. A Skinwalker coven is free to use their spiritual abilities in any way they see fit, like perfect humans with a lot of power and no accountability. In the Coven of Darkness, they always end up doing a wide range of bad things, from general mischief and theft to complete chaos and murder. Medicine men used this power to help their people, but Skinwalkers used it for their own benefit. They were often blamed for all the bad things that could happen to people in a Stone Age society, from sickness and crop failures to stillbirths and unsolved murders. Skinwalkers were easy to blame for bad things that happened in society and in nature. They were the scary things that lived among them, a constant threat of bad luck, pain, and death. How can you fight against someone who has so much power? Skinwalkers were notoriously hard to kill. Most of the time, a medicine man with a lot of skill would be needed to kill a Skinwalker. One who knows spells and rituals that can turn a Skinwalker's evil back on itself. Most people who try to kill a Skinwalker in a physical way fail. As the Skinwalker can use magic to stop guns from firing and make arrows fall from the sky. The tip of the bullet or arrow must be covered in white ash, and it must hit the target in the neck. If it goes in anywhere else, it will pass through the Skinwalker's body without hurting it. If the gets hurt but still gets away, the Skinwalker will get the same wound. In European folklore, this is called sympathetic wounding, and it happens when a person hurts someone else. This leaves a clear mark on the creature and makes it easy to find. If someone knew who a Skinwalker really was, they would have to say the witch's given name out loud and then accuse her. At this point, you are a Skinwalker, which will get very sick and die in a few days. If a Skinwalker is caught and the news gets out to the general public, the Skinwalker will definitely die within a year. The biggest problem with the legend of the Skinwalker and with Navajo beliefs in general is that magic isn't real. Since the Navajo believed that the forces of good could change the natural world, it would make sense for them to think that the forces of evil were behind bad things like disease outbreaks, stolen livestock, droughts that killed crops, and mysterious disappearances. Most bad things happen because of what a witch, and especially a skinwalker, does. Of course, this isn't true, since the wrath of a bad sorcerer is nothing compared to the stupid and blind evil of nature. Diseases spread when people came into contact with harmful and contagious microbes. Tribal members stole from and killed each other, and both good and bad weather was caused by heat-driven convection in the atmosphere and oceans. But most Navajo people didn't know these things, and even if they did, it's a fact that germs, the weather, and human nature aren't good reasons to blame when you're angry or upset. People want to get back at those who caused them pain, if that makes sense. But how can a crazy weather pattern be punished? How can you fight a virus that can't be seen with the naked eye? There are some similarities between skinwalkers and the European legend of the werewolf, but in most ways they are very different. Skinwalkers are evil and can change their appearance whenever they want, while werewolves are tragic figures who are forced to turn into wild, irrational animals every full moon. Bulls, on the other hand, could be seen as a sign of fear, specifically the fear of tragedies that people can't stop. On the other hand, it could mean that they are afraid of the bad intentions of their friends and neighbors that they don't know about. To quote the 1930s radio superhero show The Shadow, who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men in a pre-tech society where a deep cut in your flesh could mean your death? You will worry a lot about the idea that someone you know could be plotting against you in secret. Even though the Navajo religion stressed the importance of living in a moral way, they were well aware of the evil that could be in the hearts of the people they depended on for their daily lives. This would be a hard pill to swallow because they would need a scapegoat for the bad things that nature, chance, or even their own people had done to them. The problem with analyzing the legend of the Skinwalker is that there isn't much first-hand information about it because the Navajo are very quiet about it. They don't want to talk about the story with people who aren't Navajo or with people they don't trust in general. This may be because of the old saying that if you talk about the devil, he will show up. In general, it can be hard to get the Navajo to talk about their own culture. Adrienne Keene, a Native American academic, explained why people don't want to talk about their beliefs and traditions. We as Native people are now open to a barrage of questions about the beliefs and traditions, but these are not the things that need or should be talked about by outsiders at all. I'm sorry if that seems unfair, but that's how our culture stays alive. There is no doubt that the Navajo are afraid of skinwalkers, who they blame for many of their problems. Fear of these evil sorcerers has lasted through the ages and into the present day. Skinwalkers are the bad guys in many scary movies and creepy books that have sparked the imaginations of millions of people all over the world. In fact, the fact that this topic is so popular is what led to the making of this documentary. It's not too surprising that the legend of the Skinwalker is so popular. The idea of a powerful, evil being that can change shape at will is definitely scary. As a species, we have always had to trust each other a lot to stay alive in a world full of unpredictable dangers. When that guiding light of unwavering trust, gutters, and phase goes out, our chances of surviving fall into the dark void of individual anarchy. We are herd animals at heart, and the bonds of our mutual trust are of the utmost importance to keeping a state of balance in our social interactions. Without these complex social bonds that hold our society together, humankind would not have made it through the early stages of our evolution as a species. Whether or not you think things like that could exist in nature. The Navajo legend of the Skinwalkers continues to intrigue and move people on a deep, emotional level. Thank you again for coming back to watch another documentary about an investigation. We hope you liked it, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching this Navajo Skinwalkers documentary. This one has been asked for a lot, so I was really happy to be able to do it. It took me a while, but I thought it would be fun to talk about some less well-known ones before moving on to some more well-known ones. Now, I know that a lot of you want to know when to go, and that information is on its way. I promise that if you liked this documentary, you'll click the like button, which helps me a lot. The more people like this video, the more YouTube shows it to new people, and who doesn't need more scary things in their lives. If you are new to the swamp and want to sign up and join us, click here. Click the subscribe button and the notify me button to make sure you don't miss any new videos. I put them up almost every day, and they are about both natural and supernatural things. I'll see you soon with another scary video.